Okay, so we're over at the putting green now with Gareth. We've got some putting fundamentals, putting technique lesson. I know I need a lesson myself on that, but basically your sort of core fundamentals for putting that people can take to the golf course.
For sure.
So we're going to use Quintic a little bit. Ian's going to be manning the launch and spin and everything over there. I've got my putter. Not sure if it's the best putter for me. We haven't really done a fitting for it in a while. We just sort of...
Yeah, I don't think we ever really done a fit for that one. I know we done the Bobby Grace with the little flow neck, and
it's more that I've just been struggling, and I decided just to mix up my routine a bit. Why don't we kind of get started with, I'll hit a couple putts of my own, and then you could sort of take it from there.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Last time we hit a putt, Orlando. It's scary.
There we go, we'll know now.
8 feet past.
what do you see, Coach?
There's a few things, like the most important thing that we need to figure out is, can you aim this putter and do you start it online?
Yes.
Like those are really key fundamentals. 90% of the ball's direction is basically determined by face at impact. Now, you know, a good player will probably only be off by 1.5 degrees. Yeah. There's really not a lot of movement with the face.
Right.
But generally an aimer can be 6-7 degrees off and not even realize it. So what I'd love to do is I'd love to test your aim with this putter and see what you think.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going to do...
You use the laser then, right? Or do you have another?
I'm not going to use the laser. I'm going to use my ruler here.
Perfect.
And I'm going to put it at a diagonal.
Okay.
So that it's awkward for you.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay. I'm just going to put a ball right here. If you could just stand up over that there. Can you get in there without falling off the stage?
Yep, I can. Right there's perfect, actually.
Okay. So you go ahead, line up for me.
So line up basically
perpendicular? Just put the edge down. We know that it's straight.
Yep.
So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to put this tee down. Okay. Just tell me where you want me to move it. Closer to the hole, closer to me?
Closer to you.
Okay.
Like a lot more, I think. One more. A little more. Yeah, I think.
Okay.
A little bit away. A little bit away. It's
Okay.
gonna be wrong no matter what I say. Yeah, that's.
So
to me, that looks like that.
Why don't you go back behind and look and just tell me what you see? Do we have it in line? Do we have it?
The tee is good 4 inches right.
So
it's not good, is it?
It's great because it's actually figuring out that you have a setup issue that doesn't allow you to see down the line.
Yeah.
See, a lot of times people are not training their eyes over the ball, because how many times you get up, you've lined up, you've got a line on your ball, everything's good, and then you look up and you're like, maybe it's a bit more to the right.
Every single time.
Yeah. So because you're not training your eyes over the ball, you're not able to be, you know, concise and be like, okay, oh yeah, that's perfect, you know. So that brings in indecision, and now you're not able to adjust. And what you're going to notice is that the stroke will actually move around because of your eyes not being calibrated. So what we'll do here is you just tell me where I need to move this where it's straight.
Sure, yeah. A little more? Way, sorry. A little less, slightly. Yeah, I think that's bang on. Hold on. Yeah, that's as close as I could eyeball.
Okay, so go ahead, set up for me. So what we're going to do here is if you could just move closer to the ball. So move
closer to the ball.
Yeah, you're going to have your head sort of, your eye line much more over it. Okay, now have a look up. And does that look like it's aiming at the tee, or does it look like it's left or right?
Maybe a hair right, but not as off as I would have thought.
Okay, now go further away.
Away?
Yep, keep going.
Okay.
How's that look?
Now it looks more right.
Yeah.
I think.
So what we need to do is figure out the best optics for you over the ball.
Right.
Like you know, what I always love is if I can get the players to have kind of over the hosel, their eye line over the hosel is kind of my start position.
Right.
Then what we'll do is we'll do this little test to get them calibrated for them so that they can see the line a lot better.
Interesting.
So it may not be that you need to obviously stand right on top of it. You may just need to get your eye line a little bit more over.
So I was inside the ball?
Too much inside for you. So your perception of where you were going was about 4 inches off.
Is that an eye dominance thing, or is that just a...
No, I think it's just a setup position.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah?
So I think if we can get you set up right where you're actually targeting the putter
Yes.
within a tolerance level, because nothing's going to be perfect, but if we can get it somewhere close, I think it's going to be really easy for you there, because I think the stroke is probably going to be pretty good, and you're going to be misinterpreting stroke issues for aiming issues.
The funny thing is, like, whenever you line me up and we do stuff like this, I find I'd make a lot of putts.
Yeah, we don't see anything.
Yeah, the numbers are usually fine, but then if you take that on the golf course where I aim myself and obviously wrong, there's a lot of variance.
So you notice the way I've angled us on this platform, because when you're on a static platform, lines, everything is very parallel. It's very easy to get your body
To
set
aim
up
correctly. Okay.
Yeah, and then you get out in the golf course. That's why sometimes you'll do a fit and you're like, God, it was great. And then you get out in the golf course and it's like, I don't know, I'm not making anything of this. I don't know what's wrong.
Yep.
We haven't taken into account your eye position and your setup.
Very interesting.
Yeah, we have to make that concession every time we fit someone.
Yeah.
We're leaving it to you now to aim.
For sure.
And read greens and aim.
There's only so much you can.
Yeah,
that's still a player responsibility.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You
You're
know,
making sure that the putter's fit and everything's good, and that's wonderful. But
if they're able to aim themselves on the correct line, can we get the putter to match up to that? We can, but you have to get yourself there first.
Yeah.
And this is something you see a lot of players. And the interesting thing, if we looked at the data, if we squared him up, and we looked at data, if we screwed you up with your eye line, your putter, your stroke that your putter would make would be totally different.
It changed because to some degree, your brain sort of knows what is correct?
You're trying to go to that target even though your body is in a different direction.
Huh.
And you'll see strike location obviously moving around. You'll see distance control very hard to manage.
That's fair,
And start line will be tricky.
Huh.
So you'll see finish positions, you'll see elbows flying and different things from people because of basic optics. So basically what we would do is find the right eye line for you.
Right.
Once we found that eye line, you could basically just hit a putt on that ruler.
Okay.
Interesting.
Let's hit one off the...
So I needed to go closer than...
You needed to go closer, so we needed to find that spot.
So let's test that again, then I can have a reference. So I basically need to inch closer, then look at that tee and tell you whether...
And tell me if you feel like that tee is actually in line. I think Matt's got a very good setup as is. You know, there'd be lots of people that would change a lot of things. I love back is flat to here, and then you've got this nice roundness. Head points straight down. So now when he tilts his head, you can see it'll tilt on the right plane. Often we'll get players where their head tilt will be up. I'll stand over here. Okay. So their head tilt will be up here, and as they rotate their head, they're going to rotate on an angle like that. So optically, as they look up, it's going to change.
It's good you said that, because to be honest with you, when I've seen myself putting, I think like you kind of look like you're slouching a bit, and I would probably have changed that.
Yeah. So the one thing you don't want to be doing when you're putting
is putting like that.
Is like this, because optically, to look at the ball, you'd have to look out at the very bottom of your eye socket, and then as you rotate your head, you'd be rotating on a curve.
Interesting.
So I really like the setup that you have.
So it's okay to be a little rounded at the top of the spine, basically?
Yeah, because everything is putting from up in this section here.
Right.
We're not putting from down in here. This is our stabilizer, and then the shoulders rotate around that.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, to be honest, it seems to me like no matter what I do, it looks a little right, but the closer I get to it, the more, like right there, it really sort of is as good as I think I'm going to get.
And where were you before?
I was probably standing about there, if I had to guess.
That's perfect. Okay, why don't we hit a shot from that position, and let's see what your ability is like to hit the target. So this ruler has a tolerance of plus or minus 0.5.
Oh, good.
So it will stay on the ruler up to that point. It will actually come off either side if it's not there.
Gotcha. Well, that must have been pretty bad. Looked like it came off about there. Couldn't have gone more than 8 inches before it fell off. Okay.
This is great because it could actually get into putter fit now, which is, you know, if I'm seeing such a big tolerance one way, we would just change the putter right away.
I'm open to I have not married a putter yet, so. Does that look like about where I was standing before? Gareth?
Yeah, it looks pretty good there.
That's not too close.
No.
Okay.
If you can see the line, it's not too close.
Gotcha.
If the stroke is having problems, then we have to backtrack and go and
Something
figure it
else. Okay.
out. So I love this because instant feedback. We're missing it off the ruler to that side, so our face for you is obviously closed.
Closed, yeah.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'm going to turn you around this direction so your back is facing the camera.
Back is facing the camera. Okay.
Yeah, and you're just going to line up for me here.
Address the ball.
Yep. So what we're looking for here for the players is we're going to check his basic alignment. So we check from tailbone to neckline, which he's got good posture. And if I drew a line straight down from there, I would hit the center line of his putter. Now, if you can see from that camera, that's the center line of his putter. And it's not bad, but it probably could go back in his stance.
I've got it too far forward. Yeah, that's what I can even see that through. That looks like it's more behind or more that way.
So think about even a door opening and closing. There's a point in the middle of the body. If we're not manipulating it, that will actually be pretty square. So what we would do again here is, if I just throw you on the ruler, and you're just going to put the ball back about one ball.
Gotcha.
A little bit closer, obviously, before for your aim, just a touch.
Okay, so a ball width.
Yep.
Backwards.
Yeah, and then let's just hit a putt and see what happens. Okay. So
I was always aiming left. I guess I would have needed to close the putter, or I'd miss everything left.
try that again. So it's interesting, if you look from this camera here, optically, it can look like it's way back from that line. So we always have to check from behind on basic alignment to see.
Interesting. So behind the person, that's how you would actually, it's based on the spine,
The
not...
spine and the shoulders and the way it moves.
Interesting.
You can't really see it well from this position.
I've never heard that before. Makes sense though.
So there we've got nice,
Interesting.
We could pretty much fix a lot of our problems on...
Closer and ball further back.
So the first thing is we pick the easiest stuff first,
Yeah.
Are you able to aim it within a reasonable range, and can you start it somewhere on the target line?
Yep.
And then the setup, we're going to adjust from there.
Gotcha.
Same thing as if it's ball position. If I'm hitting a full swing and I have it starting too far right or left, I'll check, make sure that I'm not one way or the other.
Definitely.
Once you kind of know that, then we would get into the data and really look at the fit and look at the ball and how the ball is
See
rolling.
how the stroke is rolling. So why don't we do that next? So now this is good. At least I have a reference.
Yeah.
And then we can get some numbers. Is that alignment a little better?
It's still a bit right.
It's on this side.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm probably overcompensating from earlier. How about there?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Went in, so it usually means it's pretty good.
The worst spot, right?
It's kind of like what we did with the full swing. We can fix so much with setup.
Yeah, 100%.
Like if we were starting to get patterns of left or right, I'd be looking at, distance away, I'd be looking at handle height, I'd be looking at forearm positions, stance width, all to check, make sure
do that
those
stuff
things.
first, basically. Yeah.
We can't get into the real data unless we have someone set up somewhat reasonably. There's often people who come to me for fits, and I'm like, to be honest with you, you need to come back to me in a couple of weeks. What I need to do is...
a ton of people ask that, and I think it's good to hear you say that. And Ian says the same thing. If there's something that is obviously really, really holding you back, it's going to get brought up into fitting first, and then you'll fit based on that.
So basically the ball position change and the other changes have matched up really nicely with about a 1 degree face shift.
So it was 1 degree closed before, now it's just basically around 0?
Yeah. A couple of different things also changed. Sort of your angle of attack changed as it would. You're now hitting the baseline at the bottom. Your stroke.
So hitting up on it
hitting
less.
Yeah, hitting up on it less, which is fine. Just more things to be aware of, that where you're striking it relative to the ball position all makes sense. But this is the key. Obviously, in here you were missing it a little bit in the right. Now you're bang on. A nice kind of representation of your path. Something that I always see from players who are some of the better putters is within this kind of 6-inch window here. I never like to see more than a 5 degree change. So they always have to be under 2.5 degrees at 3 inches out to be a consistent putter. Anyone who ever gets it more than that never putts consistently. They always have face angle issues. So to have that down at 1.7, 3 inches out, means you've got very little work to do to retain that face at square. So, and you're not a heavy rotator anyway.
Right.
I mean, 32 degrees of rotation is very low. Between probably 30 and 50 is where most good players will find themselves.
You know what this reminds me of is what we talked about with wedges. How you were saying the more time you can spend with the low point flat, the more consistent you'll be. It's different, obviously, but rotationally. If that variance was really sharp up and down, that would be the same as being super open, super closed.
And the thing is you coming in shut, you're going to have to, there's going to be a manipulation going on there, especially when you're on the golf course.
Right.
So you're going to see those numbers fluctuate quite a bit. I wish you had a lot more going on that was wrong in your setup, you know, because a lot of times people in setup, you see so many different things. But if you can get people into that, you know, good athletic posture like you wear, you know, head's pointing straight down. When you look up, your head tilts nicely. Forearms are beautifully in alignment.
So you would be concerned if there was sort of this going on?
Yeah, if these forearms don't match up, then we often get a lot of different things happening.
Do you look for people to keep their elbows in?
I do.
Okay.
Now, I do if they definitely have inconsistencies. If you're starting it online and everything's good, I'm not saying anything.
Like if the elbow flies a bit, it's okay as long as the result is what you
Most
want.
important thing is, can you aim it and can you start it online?
Right.
If you can do those things, we leave it alone. If you can do it regularly, we absolutely leave it alone. If you can't do it regularly, then we make changes. So we only change if we absolutely need to change those two variables.
Very cool.
Or if we get into the ball roll and we're like, hey, you're not producing the right contact on the ball, you're not producing the right amount of spin, you have got backspin on your shots, you might be starting online, but you're cutting it and you're doing something. So we need to make an adjustment there, because it's going to be good up in the short putts, but as you get into 12, 15, 20 feet, it's not going to hold this line.
Gotcha.
And you're going to misinterpret the break because it's going to be skidding and bouncing so much off the initial. And
so
then
for you,
you're
it
going to
breaks more or less than it would for someone else.
Yep.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay, so that's a good little fundamental recap there. We're going to do one more video on putting. We're going to make it more focused on head shapes and styles, a little bit of neck styles too, or mostly
different styles, and how people can maybe navigate the putter selection process a little bit more.
Okay, perfect. All right, so that's coming up next. Stay tuned.